Had a good crowd, full house. That place is like a ghost town almost, but it had
packed it in.
Over 500 people there.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Rolling.
We ready?
Yes, we are.
All right, welcome, folks. This is the Texas Style Wrestling Podcast at the TEXtv studios at the OC in Forney. I'm James Beard, and I'm here today with my buddy over here, Bam Malone. How you doing, Bam?
I'm doing good, man. We're here for round 2 today. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I know. It's exciting. Yeah, we got all kinds of things going on and lots of stuff to talk about. And we got our engineer over here, Logan. He's sitting in with us. Not nearly as pretty as Hannah, but I think he can handle the chore today. Anyway.
I think he'll do for today.
Hannah will be back with us in the future. But anyway, thanks for being here, Logan. We're going to try to talk about a bunch of stuff today regarding Texas style wrestling. And I guess I better put my ears on. There we go. Yeah, I hear myself now. How about that? But we got a little business to take care of before we do that. We want to talk about our sponsors. All those guys, don't you, Bam? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're talking about Texas Select Beverages. They're got several different types of beverages. We kind of favor that Otto's root beer, don't we?
I think the Otto's root beer is by far my favorite product of theirs. But man, you kind of can't even go wrong with the teas, and I'm not even a huge tea guy myself. But and you can get all sorts of different flavor teas, and then you have traditional sweet and unsweet. But I've always been, if I am going to drink tea, I always do unsweet. But I tried their sweet tea. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
I took some of that root beer home with me last weekend.
I do every time.
That's good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I enjoy that.
Constantly trying to con them out of some root beer.
Yep. Yeah. And we got Bada Blanco. That's the 5 chili salsa. We got they've got several different flavors, or I guess degrees of heat of that salsa, and then some. And some other products as well.
Yeah, and
really good stuff.
I think I mentioned this last time, but their queso's off the chain.
Yeah.
It is so good.
Good stuff. We appreciate those guys being with us. Eddie right here in the OC. Great food, man. I tell you, that's a great place to eat. I've enjoyed Eddie Dean food, barbecue. Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Good
yeah,
stuff.
and they're also out of Smoke Monkey in Rockwall as well. Eddie Dean's, supplies the food to Smoke Monkey in Rockwall, Texas. So if you're not able to make it down to the OC, then if you're on the Rockwall side of things, you can still, head over to Smoke Monkey and get that Eddie Dean's fix. But eddiedean.com is where you can go and check out their site, see what they got going on.
That looks good right there, man.
Yeah. I've yet to try something from there that I haven't just absolutely fallen in love with.
Great stuff, yeah. And thanks to some of our partnerships, the Frisco Fighters. We're going to talk about that a little bit today.
We are, and I'm excited to talk about that one, man. That was an absolute blast. The last game of the year, we went to the Frisco Fighters game, and they had wrestling night.
Now let's just go ahead and talk about that.
Jump right into it.
Let's jump right into that. That was quite an evening.
Yeah, and I'd never been to an arena football game in general. So, not real sure what I was walking into, but being completely honest, I was impressed from the second I walked into the Co-America Center. Yeah. The teams. These guys are playing at a high level.
It's fast.
Yeah, and it's very fast. It's different. Yeah. Imagine indoor soccer, but with football. Yeah. You don't have a lot of time in between plays to rest, and it's pretty go.
I remember going to when Dallas had an arena team back several years ago. Mm-hmm. Bobby Duncombe Jr. played for them.
Yeah.
And we went there one night, and that was my first experience for arena football, and it's just exciting. It's all right there, kind of like wrestling.
Exactly.
You're kind of in that arena, and it's going and going and going. You see everything that's happening. It's pretty cool.
You got the fans. They'll sit on the first few rows and they'll catch a ball.
Yeah.
Or, hell, sometimes you'll even end up with a player in your lap. You know, you never even know. It's something completely different than going to a Cowboys game or something like that. You're sitting almost 100 yards away from the action. to where here, I mean, you are right up close, right next to it.
And these guys are real professionals.
They are.
I mean, they're right on the cusp of going to the NFL. A lot of them. Some of them actually do go to the NFL.
Exactly.
And this is kind of their step to get there.
And that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's kind of more of a stepping stone.
Yeah.
I got a buddy, LJ, plays for them, wide receiver, extremely talented kid, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him, playing on Sundays here within the next couple of years. I think he went to a little bit of a smaller university, and so he didn't quite get the attention straight out of college that he needed. So this is just his next stepping stone.
It's kind of a little bit like some of the high profile or higher up indie promotions of wrestling. Where you got eyes on you, and if you're good enough, sooner or later they're going to
get the exactly. Yeah,
absolutely.
People are watching, always watching.
Yeah, so that's an opportunity for them, and it's really an exciting event to go to an arena football game. And the Frisco Fighters had a good season. They did. I think they won their division, or I think they might have lost a playoff game, but
still, I mean, they had a really, really good season, and it was really cool. They were extremely complimentary to us when we came in.
Yeah.
And being completely honest, I was told they didn't expect a great crowd. It was the last game of the year. It was kind of a little bit of a throwaway game, and to my knowledge, that was the biggest crowd they had. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back here, pat ourselves on the back.
There you go. Let's do that.
Texas Style Wrestling Night brought in the biggest crowd that they had seen all year. And I was shocked at the amount of fans that stuck around for the match after the game.
Yeah, I was told by a couple of people that work for the Fighters that they actually accredited the wrestling for drawing some people in and making the crowd even bigger than they expected.
Yeah. And it's just bringing a whole different audience.
Yeah.
And you're always, that it's always best to, people look so much in their own industry for sponsorships or for help if you reach an industry that's outside of yours, then you're just bringing a whole new wave of new fans in.
Well, I think it's important too that a wrestling promotion, especially like Texas Style Wrestling, becomes involved in the area, the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I think those kinds of things help that along, and I think it's really important to build your fan base out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean they treated us so well, man. Tim Storm and I got to go down during halftime. They had a couple fans come down and put on these big sumo suits and wrestle each other, and so we got to be the referees for that and have fun doing that during halftime. And then of course, after the game, we set up on the.
You didn't let anybody cheat, did you?
No, of course not. No,
okay.
I never would.
No, okay.
But after
I would have been disappointed.
after the game, like I said, man, they surrounded the ring, and just as close as they were to the football game, they were able to get just as close to the ring. So, those people by far got their money's worth. They got to see an awesome game, and wrestling. I
heard the match was awesome as well.
Oh, it was, yeah. It was a really good showing from everybody that came.
And you guys actually got involved in that, I think.
We did get involved. Tim Storm and myself. There's only so much sitting around and watching you can do, and once Damage came out and tried to. It was just uneven. I just couldn't. I was there for promotional. I wasn't even supposed to step in the ring. I was supposed to be there signing autographs, hanging out, talking to fans, and Tim was there for the same thing too.
Well, if Damage is on one side of the ring and Tim's on the other, there might be a problem.
There is, yeah. And luckily, I was on Tim's side.
That's another one of those things we'll get to talk about a little bit before it's over with. The interaction, I guess, or I guess kind of a rivalry between Damage and Tim Storm that's been built over the last few months.
Yeah. And real quick before we move off to, you can see on the screen right here, we've got the highlights. Yeah. Of everything, and it was just such a good time. Everybody couldn't have been, happier to see us there and more accommodating than they were. The crowd was awesome. The cheerleaders were especially awesome. But yeah, the game was good, and it's a really cool area. I've never been up to that part of Frisco.
I got to go up there and see the whole area in the arena. A couple of 2 or 3 weeks before this, we went over there and filmed some promotional things.
Yeah,
and it's pretty impressive. That's a heck of a place there.
Yeah, and it's a professional. I mean, you can tell it's a professional sport. You know, everything's done to the T. The guys' uniforms look amazing. Everything's done properly. This isn't a backyard football league by any means. And like we touched on earlier, these guys are athletes.
They turned this into a hockey rink.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Yeah,
I can imagine slipping and sliding around in that thing.
Yeah, no thanks. No, I'll stick to the turf.
That's a good idea. I remember several years ago when the Dallas had a minor league hockey team just before the Stars came in, and they asked some of us from when we were doing TV at the Sportatorium to come down and have a hockey game between the good guys and the bad guys.
And I'm assuming nobody won that.
Yeah, it was in between the periods. I think they have 3 periods in hockey. I don't know a lot about hockey. But
I think you're right. Yeah, 3 periods.
So we got out there, and we couldn't hardly stand up, much less play hockey.
Exactly.
And it turned into quite a mess.
Yeah.
But the hockey players told us that we inspired them. The last period ended up pretty much a brawl.
Of course.
So I think we might have kind of given them an idea of what the fans wanted to see. Yeah. We ended up taking a couple of guys to the hospital that night. I think,
man,
getting some stitches from busting themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the real winner there was the ice. I don't think it didn't matter who the good guy or bad guy. I think the real winner that night was the ice.
My old friend John Layfield, JBL, busted his elbow open.
Oh yeah.
And he had stitches in it. It was a crazy night. But they have hockey there, and of course the arena football, and now they have wrestling.
Yeah, and hopefully we get an opportunity to go back, and this is something that's not just a one-time thing. They
have asked us to do that, so I'm sure next year we'll probably go back there and do something similar again.
Yeah, and hopefully more than once. I want to go check out these games and be there and keep up with the season. Yeah, it was a really, really good time.
Wonderful. That's a great experience, and again, it's a community thing that Texas style wrestling is trying to be involved in, and that's something important, I think, for us and for the community too. We want fans to come out and be a part of what we're doing as well.
Exactly.
And that's what we're doing here at the OC. What a beautiful place. We talked about it in the last podcast.
Yeah,
man,
absolutely.
Unbelievable place. And this OC studios, the Texas TEXtv studios that we're in right now, high tech, beautiful place, got everything you could ask for. I tell you, man, I'm so impressed with this place.
Yeah, and we even have some exciting news about the studio themselves.
Yeah.
We're going to have a grand opening of the studio September 26th. September 26th from 6 to 9 p.m. So we're going to be showcasing everything that we have going on here. Be able to check out the podcast room.
Community come out and see what we're doing here. They can come out and watch us right now.
Exactly.
We have people coming by in the window here and looking in. Well, I think they can even hear us out there, can't they? Yeah. So we have to watch what we say, I guess. But yeah, we want the community here in Forney to come out and not just Forney, but this whole area and see what we've got to offer. This is an incredible facility.
It really is, and if the OC doesn't sell you enough on it, you can head over to TEXtv.com and sign up. We're going to be giving away free swag that day.
Oh yeah.
Freebies. We're going to have news about upcoming episodes.
Going to be a band.
Yeah, there's going to be a band. We have a full blown recording studio. In here.
Yes.
And professional grade.
It's unbelievable, really.
Yeah.
This whole thing is unbelievable. We talked about it last week about the whole arena and all that kind of thing, and the stores and the businesses that are a part of the school district, and how they are teaching the kids how to run businesses and learn that they're these skills. And not only that, but they're going to be working with us and here in the studio. Following us around, I guess, doing camera work and all for Texas style wrestling, and it's just an amazing opportunity for this community and for the kids here.
Yeah, it is, and there's just so many different avenues that the kids have now, and
are you jealous?
Oh, I'm very jealous, and that's what I was just about to say.
You went to school right here.
Yeah, I went to school here, and my 10-year, reunion's rolling around next year. And man, I don't know. I woke up, went to algebra class, went to English, did the normal. Man, if you would have told me I could have come in here and worked on a recording studio or done something like this or worked on film, camera, anything that these kids have to offer now, I would have jumped at it. So, yeah, I am a little bitter, a little jealous, but it's super cool regardless that Forney brought this in. And I don't know. It's crazy to see the town of, 5,000 people is what this town had when I moved here in 2000.
Right? Yeah.
And gosh, I think the last time I checked the numbers, it was inching up closer to 40,000. So it's just insane how big this community as a whole has gotten.
And it seems bigger than that somehow.
Yeah, it really does.
Everything is around here, and then the Metroplex is just right there next door.
It's just right there, yeah. So it just keeps bleeding out this way. We're east of Dallas, so it just keeps bleeding out this way. And with places like this, you can't blame it. I mean, if I had a child and was enrolling them in school, and
this is what education should be.
Exactly, I agree. Yeah, if this was an option, then 1,000% I'm doing everything I can to get my kid in here.
Absolutely. It's just a wonderful thing and wonderful experience for us and for them. And we want everybody to come out and see what we've got to offer. And then when the time comes, October 12th.
That's going to be a good one.
That's going to be a good one. You actually come and see Texas Style Wrestling. We get back on schedule here, and it's going to be a special day.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, October 12th. Yeah, in a lot of ways. That's going to be TSW. We're going to present NWA Texas. Yeah. So this is a new partnership that I'm absolutely over the moon about.
Well, and being an old guy like I am, if you've been in the wrestling business for any length of time, and especially as long as I've been in it, or just a fan of it, you've been exposed to the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance.
Yeah, in some way or another.
Yeah, because it used to be the premier governing body of all wrestling for the most part. And I know the history. It started in 1948, and Luthez was the first champion, and it pretty much ran the wrestling business. All the territory, what we used to call the territory system, every area of the country had their own promotions, but they were all under that one banner.
Yeah.
And that stayed that way for up until
a long time.
Yeah, for a long time. At some point, the AWA formed. Vern Gagne formed the AWA in Minnesota in that area, and they disassociated with the NWA at that point. But and then WWWF, which was Vince McMahon Sr., they were NWA as well, and eventually they formed their own brand, and then you know what happened there. But the NWA remained for a long time, and up into really in the late 80s, when WCW was still under the NWA banner.
Umbrella.
Yeah, and it was, I've worked for the NWA in several different occasions. I actually was the director of operations for the NWA for a few years, and it was, I was working with them when the transition came that Billy Corgan bought the NWA brand. And I was in the middle of all that transition. So it's kind of exciting for me to go back home with them.
Yeah.
Because I've always been kind of an NWA guy. Still am, always for them. I think the National Wrestling Alliance should always be prominent in wrestling.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, with a company was as rich in history as NWA is, and with I guess you can call it a rebirth of the NWA within the last several years. It's awesome. I'm really glad that somebody like Billy, stepped in and was able to see where this can go and where this should be. And he's executing, to an absolute T, in my opinion. I think he's doing an amazing job, and he's using the Smashing Pumpkins background. He's bringing these guys on tour with them, and they're selling out 50, 60, 70,000 seat arenas. Well, those are so many new eyes on professional wrestling as a whole, but especially NWA.
Yeah, Billy was always a fan. He had they had a promotion in Chicago at one time. He ran.
Okay.
And eventually, I think he got involved with was it Elite or TNA or something? One of those.
Somewhere, yeah.
One of those, and something happened there. He got out of it, and when he saw a chance to buy the NWA, he bought it. I got to talk to Billy the day he bought it.
Oh, wow, okay.
We were actually on a flight to Las Vegas for Cauliflower Alley.
Okay.
And got the word, Bruce Thorpe, we were on the NW at the time, gave me a call, and when I got on the ground and told me what was going on. And we had a breakfast that morning with all the NWA promoters that were working under the banner at that time. And they put Billy on a speakerphone. He kind of talked to them a little bit, and then later on, I got to talk to him one-on-one, and I was very impressed. With his ideas and his, I guess his direction for what he wanted to take the NWA, and I worked with him a little bit after the transition, and during it and then after for a little bit, and always impressed with how he did things. And he said he had a plan. And it wasn't.
He did.
He said he had a plan. It was going to last a few years, and he's held to that. And it's really grown and starting to get some really good attention. And they've got some great, fantastic talent there, and they'll be coming into Texas style wrestling to compete as well,
which is exciting for me.
Absolutely.
I want to be in the ring with the best of the best.
Yep.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
I'm not here to be, big fish, little pond. I want the EC3s of this world. I want the Brian Idols, the Murdoch. I want to step in the ring with those guys, and that's the only way I'm going to be able to prove what I already know is I do belong with those guys. So only way to prove it, and how blessed am I to have this opportunity literally land in my lap.
Well, we had the Crockett Cup here,
and we did have the Crockett Cup
here.
And
you got to compete that night in the NWA.
I did, yeah. And so I made my debut that night,
won.
And I won, yeah. So won the debut, and I mean that's exactly what I needed to do. I had a game plan coming into there, and man, as you can imagine, James, do you know how nervous I was for that?
I can imagine.
We are in my hometown. This is my NWA debut. I probably have 75 to 100 people that I know in the crowd.
Yeah.
And welcome to the big leagues, kid. Here you go.
Yeah.
And I was able to pull that one off. So I just want to keep knocking them down, keep it coming. And I was extremely grateful for the opportunity, but I'm looking forward to more for sure.
Good deal. Well, I proudly wore that brand for a long time. Usually it was across my chest, in the ring. But that was something I took a lot of pride in and still do. And I'm looking forward to a renewed association with the National Wrestling Alliance and all those great guys. I know a lot of those guys that compete there, and they're good friends. Great competitors, and they work hard, man. You get in the ring with any of those guys, and you got your work cut out for them.
And just the years of experience that they have in the locker room.
Yep.
I mean, I'm just looking forward to just taking a seat and listening to these guys.
Yeah.
And
well, and that's another thing too. Billy understands the history and the value of it, and he keeps some guys around. Like Ricky Morton. Who he still occasionally competes, but he's there too as kind of a guide, a guy, a source of advice. And you can't get better than that.
Yeah,
I've known Ricky for lots and lots of years, and what a wonderful guy he is. But he's just so smart too. He understands this business. He understands what it takes to become a star in this business.
And he's been there and done it all.
And done it.
Yeah. So that's another thing. Just like you said, Billy he has good company around him.
Absolutely.
He has really good company around him. So.
Yeah,
he's definitely doing it the right way.
That's exciting, and you know, that's October 12th.
October 12th.
That's going to be the kickoff for NWA Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And another little side note of that I haven't really announced yet. My friend John Layfield, JBL, and I earlier in that day. What we're planning on is an event where fans can come in and not only get autographs. We're going to bring in some other Texas celebrities, I guess, Texas wrestling celebrities.
Yeah.
I can't announce all of those yet because we're not all confirmed, but as many as we can get, we're going to have some guys that are significant in this area especially, and we're going to have a kind of a social. Where it's not just a autograph signing. The fans can come in and we're gonna tell stories. We're going to answer questions.
That's awesome.
It's going to be a very personal, one-on-one kind of thing with the fans, and we'll roll out some more details about that later. But John JBL, he's been under contract for almost 30 years with the WWE, and he's finally asked for his release so he can do these kinds of things.
Yeah,
it's something that he hasn't done in the past, and he's really looking forward to getting out and meeting the fans and being able to share some of his experiences and just kind of pay back a little bit.
Yeah,
and do it in a personal way, and not just something where you go out and sign autographs and pass along the next guy and take a picture and pass along the next guy.
Exactly.
This is going to be a very informal sit down and get to know you.
Yeah, it's not just hurry up, let me sign that for you, take a picture, and move on to the next one.
Yeah, we want the fans to come in and enjoy themselves and be able to talk to us one-on-one and ask questions and hear our stories and be a part of the whole experience. And I think that's going to be something unique, even beyond like Fan Fest type things.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm hoping that fans will, when you see all the details about that, you'll come out and be with us that afternoon. It'll probably be sometime earlier in the afternoon before the wrestling that night.
But how cool of an opportunity to get and speak with someone like JBL or like yourself, and then you get to hang out and watch the stars of NWA today, the stars of NWA future, hang out. You get a little bit of past, present, and future all in one afternoon.
Yeah, what a day of wrestling. Yeah, man. I mean, there's so many opportunities for fans that you don't normally get to have.
Exactly.
And I don't know all the details about the matches that night, even though I know I'll be involved in that.
Yeah.
We're still working on all that, the matchups and that sort of thing. But there'll be some NWA people involved in that too, and probably in just about all of our events from now on, there'll be some of the people you see on the NWA, the Power Show, and they'll be in Texas style wrestling as well. So it's just so exciting.
Yeah, and tell me what you think about this, James. But I think Texas style wrestling and NWA go hand in hand.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, absolutely. Yeah. I kind of look at us as a little of a newer age, NWA, just the way everything is done. We're Texas style wrestling.
Yep.
We'll punch you in the mouth.
It's competition.
Yeah.
It's all about competition.
Pure competition. So I think the two coming together couldn't be a better idea, better partnership, in my opinion.
Oh, I think it's going to be beautiful, and we've got some kind of sister promotions out there that we work with as well. 360. And
you were just there last weekend, weren't you?
I was with 360 in Big Springs this last week. Had a full house out there in West Texas, in the middle of nowhere. And some incredible matches, man. I mean, just unbelievable matches, and some NWA folks there too.
Yeah, and I was just the weekend. The weekend before that, I was at Ozark Mountain Wrestling. Up in Rogers, Arkansas.
Yeah, another of our sister promotions.
Same thing. We had big NWA stars there, and we had TSW stars, Texas style wrestling stars were there. Moonshine Mantell was there. I was there. It's cool to see the footprint that we're leaving on other promotions as well.
And then Dog Pound down in San Antonio is not only a promotion but a training center.
Yeah, it's pretty much our feeder program.
And you're talking about NWA there with Jazz and Rodney Mack, and I mean, you don't get better trainers than that.
No, you really don't. And and I hope the guys and the girls realize how blessed we are to have both of those. All of you guys here with us, but to have people like Rodney and Jazz in our corner, and if you have to ask a question, we can go directly to them. And I know I overlook it sometimes, and I've known Rodney and Jazz almost my entire career. So to me, they're Rodney and Jazz, but sometimes I have to take a step back and be like, that's Rodney Mack and Jazz.
Yeah.
And I could pick up the phone and call them right now if I wanted to.
Yeah, I'm so proud of those guys. I actually worked both of their first matches.
Oh wow, okay.
And that was many years ago in Louisiana, and they have been like family to me ever since. But I'm so proud of the success they've had. Not just in this independent circuit, but they've gone to the big show.
Yeah.
They work with ECW, they work with WWF, Jazz, two-time women's champion there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody knows it like she does, and nobody did it like she did.
No.
She and Jacqueline were a lot alike.
Yeah.
Two gals that I'm very proud of, both of them from around this area. But I think Jazz is the best female wrestler I've ever seen.
I mean, I think I agree with you there. She's definitely the best female wrestler I've ever seen. She may be the toughest wrestler, male or female,
that may be true,
I
too.
have ever seen.
Yeah.
I've heard stories after stories about Jazz.
Yeah, we talked about Jazz.
Tough. Yes,
she is the real deal, and she transfers that to her students, male and female, and so does Rodney Mack, in a very, very, very professional way and very successful way. They've done a lot of they've sent out a lot of young talent that's really doing some good now.
Yeah, really.
You see them on Texas style wrestling.
Exactly, and both Rodney and Jazz, they have so much grit. You're not going to get either one of them to ever give up.
Never.
And they really seem to be drilling that into their students' heads, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, so all of that is really going to be a part of this Texas style wrestling and part of the NWA and the family there, and it's so exciting to see that coming together.
Yeah, and I'm putting myself through a boot camp right now. I'm looking at it October 12th. I got it circled on every calendar I own.
Yeah, I remember when Billy first bought the NWA, and he gave us a little time, but when the fiscal year was over with, and which happened to be October, by the way, maybe that's why this is happening in October. I don't know, but look at all this TSW talent, man.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at that. That's a group of guys and gals that can stand up to anybody, anywhere.
Yeah, and even outside of Texas, I mean, I would take our roster and I'd drop us any city anywhere in the U.S. and I think
it just keeps getting better.
Yeah,
and it's going to get better with NWA. He did away with the promotions at that point. And I think that was just one of those kind of cleansing things he wanted to do for a while.
And I think he just wanted to take it to ground. Just completely start fresh.
The only thing he kept was the heavyweight title and the women's title.
Okay.
And which happened to be Tim Storm, who's just our guy.
Oh yeah.
And Jazz, who's our gal.
Our girl. Yeah.
So there's a little history there.
Yeah.
But he did away with the promotions because he was trying to just rebuild. And only recently has he decided to accept promotions under the NWA banner that aren't just strictly NWA. That's his home base there. And they did that in Florida. I hear rumors about some other places, but Texas is next, and we're proud to be that part.
Absolutely, and
us and Dog Pound will be doing it as well.
Yeah, so. And with the success of the Crockett Cup that we had here, I don't see how they couldn't want to come back.
Talk about a building being oversold.
Yeah, by 200 tickets. Yeah.
That was a crowd, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was, and that was incredible, and it's so cool to, and I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here, but it's my hometown. It's so cool to see something like NWA, the Crockett Cup, coming to Forney.
That's something you used to see at the Superdome.
Yeah, and if you would have told me that the Crockett Cup would be here in Forney, Texas, when I first broke into this, I would have called you a liar and everything else. But
Yeah.
Seeing how well the Forney residents, how well everybody accepted the wrestling, and how much fun the kids have, and even the adults coming up afterwards telling us how good of a show we did. And there's nothing really like this out here, or anywhere out here, wrestling wise.
And you touched on something too that's important too. I think it's important that wrestling's tough. It's a tough business, and you have things that happen that sometimes get a little out of hand.
Yeah.
But all in all, we are a family entertainment, family product.
We are. Yeah,
agreed. And we try to keep it that way.
Yeah.
We don't want to be anything that you can't bring your kids to see.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's going to be vanilla by any means. And sometimes it gets kind of tough and rough and all that business, but nothing that's outside of that.
Yeah, and I was so young when I got into wrestling myself that if it was dropping F-bombs and everything else, no, I wouldn't have been able to watch that, and I would have never gotten into wrestling.
Well, we're just not going to allow it.
Yeah,
we're not going to have that.
Yeah, purely it's about the sport. It's about the competition.
Yeah. And you got a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
In doing that and being competitive and as rough as this gets, and sometimes
things get heated.
Sometimes that's what I was going to say. Sometimes the tempers flare, and sometimes things get a little out of hand. But there's a place where you just have to stop that.
Yeah.
And can't go beyond that line, and that's what we're trying to control. And I think we can do that and have a great product that the family can come see and still satisfy those that love to see rough and tough regular competition wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. And I became pretty good friends with one of the coaches here at Forney High School, Coach Wardlaw, and all the kids call him Coach TikTok. And I don't know the exact number, but I want to say he has closer to 400,000 followers on TikTok, and huge wrestling fan. And so him and his boys came out to the show, and it's just, they had an absolute blast, and it's so cool to see. It just takes me back to my younger days, and going to car races or going to wrestling shows with my parents, or my mom and dad bringing my younger brother and I to SmackDown and Raw. And if TSW was around when I was younger, I would be absolutely sold. I would be here every single show, but now I get to perform in every single show.
Well, yeah, it was like that. It was like that when the Sportatorium was around, and the World Class was here. They were very involved in the community.
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why they were so popular. The Von Erich boys, and it was a clean show. It was rough and tough, and it was clean. But I think that's exactly kind of what we're shooting for.
Yeah, and. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Rough and tough, but clean. We're not, it's not vulgar. We're not out here doing anything unnecessary.
Yeah, over the years, I've been a little embarrassed sometimes to say I was involved in professional wrestling because some of the things I saw on TV. And and it just had nothing to do with what I believed professional wrestling was supposed to be.
Yeah,
and you can take anything too far.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen
time and time again.
Yeah. And eventually I think they learn their lesson and they have to kind of revert back to something. But I think when you take it too far, you lose a lot of those base core fans that were there for all those years.
Yeah.
And it's hard to rebuild that.
Yeah, and even more so on the independent circuit than what you see on TV.
Yeah.
And one of the most disappointing things to me is if you have a guy, he comes out and he's about to do a live promo, and the first thing out of his mouth is the F word or whatever it may be, and I just completely instantly just lose all interest.
Yeah.
you're not educated enough to get your point across without speaking that way. And I don't care if it's in a bar show. I don't care. It doesn't matter. If you can't get your point across without just jumping straight to that, then I'm completely disinterested.
Yeah, and
I
we're
don't
not,
care.
we're not prudes. We but we just
We have our fun. We have our fun.
but we understand that there's an audience out there that doesn't appreciate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the cool things about what we do and what the NWA does. We want to continue with that to make sure that this fan base is built the right way and they stick with us.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, they're not just here for the fireworks shows or they're not here just to see what crazy thing we're going to do next. They're here for the competition. And that's what wrestling started out as and NWA started out as at the beginning. And so it's cool, kind of a little bit full circle. We're getting back to that. And, TSW, Texas Style Wrestling, we just fall perfectly right underneath that umbrella.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about our sponsors again. We've been yakking a little bit. Texas Premier Beverages, Select Beverages is one of our sponsors that has the Otto root beer and all these the tea flavors you talked about and all of that, the drinks, wonderful products. And Eddie Dean, which is right here in the OC, by the way.
Yep, right here in the OC.
Yeah.
If you want to come check out Texas Style Wrestling, NWA Live, October 12th. Make sure you get here plenty early enough. You get to hang out with James Beard, John Layfield, and get you some Eddie Dean's barbecue while you're here, too.
Yeah,
make a full day out of it.
Yeah, and then when you're in between all of that, some Vada Blanco salsa and sit down and maybe enjoy a good cold beverage or something with that and some chips. And that'd be, enjoy that. That's good. Another good product that we have here.
And another cool thing that we're going to start transitioning to is we're going to start releasing more TSW, Texas Style Wrestling matches every Thursday at 6. So you can go to TEXtv.com, sign up for sneak peeks, put your email address in there. You'll get all the updates, everything. And then TexasStyleWrestling.com for all the episodes. And we'll be uploading every Thursday at 6. So you can set a timer, be one of the first ones to watch it, but you're definitely not going to want to miss it.
And this podcast itself will be on Tuesday nights at 6.
On YouTube.
They'll be released on Tuesday nights at 6. So I guess we ought to advertise ourselves a little bit here.
Yeah. We'll be dropping every Tuesday night at 6 on YouTube. It's just going to be on the TSW YouTube page. That way you'll be able to check us out, and eventually we're going to move over to Spotify and Apple Music, right. So that way while you're driving, I myself, I'll watch a podcast on YouTube while I'm doing cardio or something like that. But
that's what I do on the road.
But 95% of the time, if I'm in my car, that's when the podcast is on. So I'm super excited to be, moving over to those platforms as well. But you can catch us now on YouTube every Tuesday at 6.
Yeah, eventually TEXtv.
Yeah.
And the thing about it too is it's right now it's Bam and I and Logan over there not saying a word, being quiet, engineering us, but we'll be having some other people with us too.
Yeah.
This is kind of a work in progress for us right now. I've never hosted a podcast, as you can. I can tell.
Yeah.
But it, it's just a conversation.
Yeah.
It's basically all it is, and we all enjoy the same things and had some different experiences. So it's nice to hear. And we'll have some guys like Tim Storm in here with us, and Jazz and Rodney Mack, and who knows who may join us here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'm extremely excited. I don't know what you want to call me. If you want to call me your co-host or your guest,
your partner,
my partner. But man,
my tag team partner.
Yeah. It's been an absolute blast so far, with these 2 episodes, and I can't wait to bring in more guests and, have a 3-way conversation, 4-way if Logan ever wants to say anything.
Well, at least Hannah is pretty, so you can sit there.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. But it's really cool, and like I said, I couldn't. This all landed in my lap, and if I would have ever thought that I'd be doing this here in Forney, where I grew up, I always tried to get out of here. I always thought my opportunities were going to be elsewhere.
That's funny.
And now the opportunities have landed in my backyard.
I think we all do that.
Yeah.
I grew up around the Tyler area. Actually, hometown was just a little outside of Tyler, called Brownsboro.
Okay,
A little bitty town.
Yep.
And I went to school there a little bit, but I graduated from, back then it was John Tyler High School.
Yeah.
Tyler High now, but I think everybody at that point in their lives, they thinking about getting the heck out of Dodge.
Well, the grass is always greener, right?
It always looks greener.
Grass is always greener.
And then of course you go off to college, and which I did, and get a little experience there, and then I got into music, and I was, who knows where I was.
Yeah.
And then into this stuff, my goodness, you talk about the travel. I got to see plenty of places all over the world. Lived in Dallas for a long time. As soon as I got a chance to get out of there, I got the heck out of there.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
But there's not too many places in this world I haven't traveled to in this business.
And that's amazing. Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a blessing. It really has. But there's only one place I'd want to be, and that's home.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about Forney. Originally my plan getting into the business was I wanted to go to the 3D Academy in Florida with the Dudleys.
Yep.
And then that was my first, goal, my first idea. And then I had a gentleman, Brett Barnes. He ended up being my football coach. And,
good guy.
Yeah, super
Brett.
stellar guy.
Yeah.
And he wrestled as Brett Idol. He was trained by Booker T down in Houston.
Yeah.
And just seeing the way, the stars aligned, and I came to him and asked him about wrestling.
I saw Brett somewhere not too long ago. Was he here?
I want to say he was here.
Maybe so.
I think the last taping we had.
I met him in Arkansas when I was working for old school wrestling out there. Matt Riviera's.
Okay.
promotion. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, super great guy, and he introduced me to the guys at the Christian Wrestling Federation, and that helped get my foot in the door there, and so I ended up not going to Florida, of course, and I ended up staying here, and then about a year and a half into my career, I tore my ACL, and just looking for something else to do. I thought maybe I could go try the school route. So I moved off to Mississippi, went to the University of Ole Miss for one semester, and then decided no.
It didn't work.
I missed the wrestling thing. I had a little bit too much fun in Oxford, and I was ready to get back on the road and start doing this again. So
we bit too much fun. I've been guilty of that a time or two.
Yep. So it was time for me, and it just wasn't what I wanted. I wasn't passionate about it. I could care less about going to class, and I did really well in school the one semester I went, but it just was not for me. So I ended up just like you said, there's nothing like home, and coming right back here and getting after it again.
I've noticed that with a lot of people. Though not everyone, but a lot of people end up coming back home. Yeah. And when they get the chance to, they think they want to be somewhere else, and then they end up there. Some of them more radical than anybody.
Exactly.
You think they'll never be back here again. But
never.
Next thing you look up, and there they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And like you said, you've gotten to see the entire world almost, and you know where home is always, and there's.
And I enjoyed all that. I enjoyed the travel and seeing different places and experiencing some things that a lot of people don't get to experience. But man, I tell you what, when you land in Dallas and then you get to go on to East Texas, I always feel kind of relieved. Yeah. Even today, I just got back from West Texas. I even felt relieved.
Yeah. And you and I were chit chatting before, before we started recording. My parents live out in East Texas as well, and I'm going to go see them this weekend, and from about Forney to about 100 miles east, that's home. Anywhere in between there, that's home.
Yeah, I've got to make one more long trip to Cauliflower Alley in a couple of weeks. Okay. Actually, in Las Vegas, and I'm looking forward to it. I always like going out there and seeing my friends. I just got back from Iowa to Waterloo, the Tragus Hall of Fame up there, which I'm on the board of directors there. So I really enjoy that as much as anything I do all year. But Cauliflower Alley is another place. It was one of the places where I really got that the first honor is the first referee to get an honor there.
Yeah, and that's something I've never done. I haven't gone yet.
Yeah,
I haven't gone.
It's a great experience. I think everybody should be a member of CAC. Even if they're a fan or in the business, I don't care at what level. It doesn't cost much, and they do so much good for people who have been in the business that are down on their luck. Or have had illness or injury or something that's happened that's made them financially strained.
Yeah,
I've seen them help so many people. They've helped my buddy Black Bart recently. And I've seen that with so many people that they've come in and done some good things for, and it's just a small amount every year. I think it's like $35 or something like that to be a member.
$35, yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to be a lifetime member, it's like $400 or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is, but I've been a lifetime member for a while now, and I go as often as I can. I've been going just about every year.
Yeah,
and it's nice to be there and see some of the people that you don't get to see very often. Some of the old timers, that you may not have ever gotten to work with, but you knew who they were.
Who they were, exactly.
Yeah. And it's just a great experience, and it's friendly. It's same way with the Tragus Hall of Fame. There's a friendly atmosphere there, and nobody acts like a star.
Exactly.
You
yeah.
know?
And I think the coolest thing is, like you mentioned, they help guys when they are down on their luck.
That's the main thing.
And a lot of people, I mean, whether they realize it or not, we put our bodies through hell.
Oh, I'm telling you, and a lot of the guys in the business, you think they make all this money and got rich and retired, but it doesn't happen to everybody.
No,
in fact, a lot of them, they worked all those years and just made a living.
Exactly.
And some of them didn't even do that.
Yeah.
And then something bad happens, and there you are. It's just like everybody else who works. Whether you're a carpenter or a plumber or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's same kind of deal. It's just a job.
Yeah, it's just a job. And like you said, you're making a living at this, but eventually that living's going to go away eventually, and the medical bills aren't going to stop.
Yeah, it's sometimes very soon in this business.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could have the rug yanked from underneath you in a heartbeat, just like that. So it's really cool to have something like that.
Yeah, and we've lost so many guys in our business, and as we're doing this today, just found out last night we lost Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah.
Who was a dear friend, a guy that I got to work closely with and got to know very personally.
Yeah.
And one of the smartest guys in this business ever. Talented in the ring and talented outside the ring, just an incredible person. I just hated to hear it. But we've lost so many guys like that.
We really have.
Yeah.
And Kevin was such a good one, man. I got a quick Kevin Sullivan story. I got to work with him really closely about 4 years ago, and I showed up to the tapings that day, and it was actually told to me as we're pulling up pictures of Kevin here now.
Yeah.
And he had such a different way of going about things and his character, and it was just, I don't know.
Soft-spoken guy.
Yeah, extremely soft-spoken guy, but you wouldn't know that by watching him in the ring.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you wouldn't know that at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I showed up to our tapings that day about 4 years ago, and unfortunately I was told there was nothing for me. And so what they decided to do is I got to do color commentary with Kevin.
Yeah.
And so I was only supposed to do one match, and Kevin ended up having me stick around for, I think we did 2 or 3 tapings full. And afterwards, Kevin put me over to the moon to everybody who was in charge there, and really kind of helped get me a little bit of a push. But he saw something in me. And, I couldn't have been more thankful for him. Anytime I ever had a question about anything, he was all ears. And he is something that you touched on earlier is, he didn't try to just walk in and just completely take over. And you would think with somebody with that experience they would. But he didn't. He was always open. And, we kind of touched on this last week, but you will never learn everything in this business. No. And for Mr. Sullivan to come in the way he did, and if you had a good idea, He loved it. If
Yeah.
it wasn't a good idea, he would tell you it's not a good idea, but
Or he'd tweak it.
Yeah, or he'd tweak it and make it a good idea.
Yeah, he was just this joy to work with.
Yeah.
And I got to work closely with him, and you know, those times were wonderful. But you know, there were a lot of times too that I think of when it was just a phone call.
Yep.
You know, just a phone call and say hi and how you doing, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It meant
he
so
was
much.
always available.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was always available. He didn't try to big time any of us.
No.
You know, and then he would just come and sit down next to you and just talk to you like
Yeah.
he was one of the boys
Yeah.
still.
Well, he was.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like my old buddy Red Bastine. He was that way. You know, he could be anywhere in the world, and you all of a sudden get a phone call and just, how you doing?
Yeah, just
You know,
checking in
that
on
kind
you.
of deal. And,
Yep.
but that's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah.
And you know, we're going to miss Kevin.
Yeah.
I was, you know, I was always a big fan of his, and not just the wrestler part, but
he
outside
was
the
as a
ring,
person,
and the brain, man, such a smart guy.
Oh, such a-
and,
yeah.
And he, you know, he was one of those unique guys too that was smart, but he knew how to talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, there were a few guys like that understood how to get you to see what they're trying to do or trying to say.
Yeah.
J.J. Dillon's that one of those guys. Gary Hart was like that. But
Just explaining things.
yeah, I mean,
Just-
they understood that, you know, they got this brain and they're smart, but they had to convey it to you some way, and they didn't try to act like they were elite, you know.
high and mighty,
Yeah,
and you know,
yeah,
so much better.
Yeah, but just good people.
Yeah.
And that's what Kevin was, and I you know, I appreciate that about him, and I'm going to miss that and miss opportunities to talk to him and, you know, kind of feed off of his knowledge sometimes.
Yeah, and I wish it hadn't have been, you know, 4 years since I have seen him. I wish I could have seen him a little bit sooner, but yeah, I mean that wasn't quite the news that I was expecting to wake up to today. So,
Yeah, well,
that was a heavy hit.
Yeah, he'd been having a hard time.
He
I
had
knew
been.
that, but
Yeah.
and I hadn't talked to him in, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months at least.
Yeah.
But he was a great guy, great guy, and we miss him, and that's the kind of thing that happens in this business. You know, you have so many icons like that are here today and gone. You know, and we were talking about Cauliflower Alley. They do things to help guys like that if they have financial issues, and you know, that's a community that you need to support.
Yeah.
If you're in the business or if you're a fan of the business, be a member. Be a member, if nothing else. Even if you don't go to any of the reunions, be a member.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we are family. And, you know, families don't always get along, but we are family.
Yep.
And we have to look after each other. You know, we had the guys and girls of this business, we have to look after each other. And you know, I even go as far to say that the fans are part of our family, too. You know,
That's just kind of crazy because after I kind of got to a point to where I was slowing down a little bit, or at least I thought I was.
Yeah.
and I started to go into some of these things. I got to know and became friends with so many people that I might not have ever known before.
Nope. Ever met.
And a lot of them are like family now.
Yeah.
You know, we stay in touch all year long, not just at the reunions, and it's just special to get to know some people that, you know, this business is funny because a lot of times I go to something like that, and there'll be somebody there that I know who they are, and they may know who I am, but we never work together.
Exactly.
Or
yeah.
never have met in person. Yet we know each other somehow.
Yeah.
It's just
through connections.
so weird. And
there's so many times that you feel like you would, you know, I can't tell you how many times I've met somebody. I'm like, I know we've met before, and no, we haven't. But I just know who they are. I know their work. I know almost everything about them, but just never face to face met before.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time.
Yeah. I did an AWA podcast about a month ago.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, why do you want me on that? I don't want the AWA. But it's just like, they just know who you are, you know, and they want to talk to you. And but they've all become really good friends, you know. It's never worked together at all. It's just right.
And nobody else truly understands what we go through, right? No. And I think that's, you know, if anything, that's what brings us together is to the outside world, what we do does not make sense to them, and that's okay. It makes sense.
It doesn't make sense to any of us sometimes.
Yeah, and there's been times I'm sitting there going, man, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But we, for the most part, we all get it. We understand. We know what we're putting our bodies through. Mentally, what we're having to put ourselves through. These long days, training. In the car. It's just best if everybody. We are a family.
That's the hardest thing for me is the travel.
Yeah, and it is. Just having to go. How far did you say you traveled last weekend?
It was about an 8-hour ride out there one way.
Yeah. But you tell somebody I went, so let's say the weekend before that, I was in Rogers, Arkansas. So from here in Forney, I think it was right at 6 hours.
Yeah.
So I drove up there, did the show, turned around, drove back that night.
Yeah.
So you tell somebody that you're doing 12 hours of driving in a day for a 15-minute match.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Well, and even crazier than that, I had pulled a muscle in my back the week before.
Oh, man, okay.
So I was walking around like nuts, and I had a TENS unit on me for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really sure how effective I was going to be when I got there. But luckily it eased up enough that I could work. But you just do whatever you got to do to get in there.
Yeah. You just, I don't want to say getting by, but nobody's 100% healthy.
Well, it's crazy, and I know any sports like this though. If you got a little injury or hurt or something like that, probably more hurt than an injury. Injuries, I think of as something that's really severely wrong.
Yeah,
and you probably shouldn't be doing anything.
Exactly.
But you got pains, hurts, something, strained muscle, whatever it is, and then you get in there in the ring or in the field or whatever, and in the competition in the middle of it, and for a while you just kind of forget about it.
You do. Yeah, you completely, the pain goes out your head.
Yeah.
You completely forgot about it. Now, the second you walk back through the curtain on the other side, you're going to remember it.
Yeah, you remember it then.
But,
and for the next 4 or 5 days.
Exactly, yeah. I separated my shoulder, earlier this year in April.
I remember that.
And for the next 2 weeks after that, I didn't want to take time away.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I bought a really cool shoulder strap or shoulder brace, braced it up as tight as I could, and while I was out there, it's just completely out your mind, right? You're focused on the task at hand, so couldn't even think about it. Now when I got home later those next 2 weekends, I definitely felt it, but adrenaline's a hell of a thing.
It is. It really is.
Takes over, and I felt that way. I played football all the way growing up, and wrestling's no different. And I can't tell you the amount of times I've come back through the curtain after a match, and I have a huge goose egg on my head, and I can't even tell you where it came from. It's just one of those things, and when it's almost like you don't feel the pain while you're out there, but as soon as you walk back through that curtain, you're greeted with it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's part of what this podcast is about, is kind of giving people an idea of what this is like, what the business is like, what we have to go through, and what we do, and maybe from a little different angle, hopefully, that people understand a little bit more about it, and maybe understand us a little bit better, which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
I've known some guys in this business that are really scary if you start understanding.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and we have some, we have some characters. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
And even in our own locker room, even in the Texas style wrestling locker room.
And for sure.
I'm sure with NWA coming over, we're going to get some of those characters as well too. But,
I know a few of them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I tell you, I did that when I did that movie with the Iron Claw. Silas Mason, which is one of the NWA guys, and Brady Pierce, another one. All those NWA guys
Brady's
that played the Freebirds. Silas he's nuts.
Absolutely
talented, supremely talented, and big guy, great athlete, but he's nuts.
Oh, absolutely insane. The first time I met Silas was at a show in Memphis, and it was a little rinky-dinky bar show, and I got to see the true Silas Young that night, and he's wild cat. Couldn't be a cooler dude, man. Couldn't be a cooler.
Oh, I love him.
Wild cat.
Yeah. I had a blast being around him, but man, he could come up with some zingers.
Oh, he can. Yeah. He's a good dude.
Crazy dude.
But you have to be a little crazy to get into this, don't you think?
I think maybe a little bit off sometimes, but there's all different kinds of personalities in professional wrestling.
Yeah, there are, but I think all of us have a little, well, I don't know, at least a few screws loose. Or
you got to be a little nuts. You got to be involved in this
a little bit
for any length of time, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually got a question too.
Okay.
I don't know. What was it? It seems like a lot of situations happen where you guys are having to get more into social media, and then Bam Bam was telling me how people want to see more of his real life and that backstory.
Yeah.
And you lived the lifestyle for so long, and people wanting to know more about your backstory. And some people just want to get to the point where it's just the surface.
Yeah.
And they have their own imagination of what's going on back there. Like, oh, he must be married to this person, and that he must be his sister or daughter or something.
Yeah, and I think that we want to kind of do that here. I don't have anything to hide.
Yeah, I don't either.
There is a veneer, that you put in front of you in professional wrestling, regardless of what role you play in it. And a lot of times you don't let people see beyond that. And I think to some degree that's a good thing for a while, but there comes a point in time, and like myself, I'm been in it for almost 40 years now, and I don't really mind drawing that back a little bit more now.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me at all, because I'm just a regular guy that happened to be in a weird business. And I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of being part of it. It's something that I love. Mm-hmm. I'm a country boy. I live on a few acres, and I've got critters and that I take care of every day. I get up about 6 o'clock every morning. If I don't, my dog is on top of me.
Yeah.
I've got
Either you get up or she gets you up.
Yeah, I've got a 100-pound Corso that makes sure I get up.
Yeah.
And I get up and I feed and sit back and have a cup of coffee most mornings if I don't have something I have to go do, and maybe watch the news and see what's going on in the world, or something, and then I go out and take care of my business if I need to, and I'm always got stuff around the place I've got to do.
Yeah.
I'm always behind.
And you mentioned something about an Iron Claw. What was that all about?
The movie.
The movie.
Yeah.
The Iron Claw, the Von Erich movie that came out earlier this year. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah.
James was involved.
Yeah, I was in that movie. Great experience, incredible experience. And I got to the people asked me, well, who did you play? Well, I kind of played myself. I just did.
Yeah.
I did what I do, Mm-hmm. But I was also a consultant in it. I'd help them kind of know, because I worked with all those guys, the Von Erichs and Freebirds and all. So I kind of helped them, guide them a little bit about, how would this guy do this or do that or act or react and that kind of thing. And
I can't think of a much better source than having yourself there. I mean, you truly did work with all those guys.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and the fact is the actors were very receptive to that.
Yeah.
They none of them had that prima donna kind of attitude. They were all more than willing to listen and do what things the way you tell them. That this guy would be like this or do like this and that kind of thing. Zac Efron was incredible to work with. He's just a great, nice guy. All of them were, but I worked a lot with him because he was the main lead. Played Kevin Von Erich in the movie. And
how short is that guy in real life? He seems short. I don't know.
Yeah, he's probably. I'm around 5'9" to 5'10", and he's probably a couple inches shorter than me.
Okay, so he's probably about 5'7", 5'8".
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But if he's one of those where you could step up and say, "Hey, you want to do some wrestling in the ring?" You think he'd do it?
It's funny how adept they became at, Chavo Guerrero worked with them for several months before the movie and taught them some of the basic moves, some of the basic things that you learn. And I was shocked at how well they picked those things up, because I've seen some guys try to learn that stuff and it takes them forever. You know how it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wrestling. A lot of the things you do in wrestling is unnatural.
I mean, just about every part of it is.
Yeah, I mean, just even what we call taking a bump. Taking a proper bump is totally unnatural.
Yeah, it's falling down without catching yourself. Naturally, your first instinct is to always catch yourself or brace.
And doing it without hurting yourself.
Yeah, brace for something. So you have to completely turn that part of your brain off.
To trust your body.
And allow yourself to fall without having to catch yourself. And, getting used to doing it the first few times. It takes everybody a while. Yeah. I've never seen somebody walk in and do a perfect bump.
Yeah, I might have seen it a couple of times, which always shocked me.
Yeah. It's not a very rare occurrence.
That's
when
weird.
It does happen.
Somebody could do that. But these guys picked all of that up in that. I think he worked with them for 3 or 4 or 5 months or something like that.
And Efron, he's a natural athlete, anyways. I mean, he's a really good athlete.
Yeah, and Jeremy Allen White, who played Kerry, he was half size Kerry really in real life, but he probably could be a wrestler if he wanted to be.
Yeah.
He just understood how to do things somehow. But just really incredible how they picked that up. Mm-hmm. And the thing about the movie is all those scenes that you saw. We had seconds there, guys that came in and showed them how to do this or how to do that, and that kind of thing. But when we shot the film, actually shot the scenes, they did all the scenes. They did all the wrestling scenes.
Oh wow! So they did all their own.
It wasn't one of those deals where you start a move and then cut away and then
have the stuntman come in.
Stuntman comes in and does the rest of it. They did it all, and I think that's what made it look so real.
Yeah.
And I think those were the most realistic wrestling scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, and they did really, really well. Just perfectly. Even some of their footwork and the mechanics of it,
And those were things that we talked about.
Yeah.
And they just picked them up. It was such an incredible experience to be a part of that. I was down there for over a month working. Most of November and a little bit into December that year.
Now, where did y'all film that? Was that in Atlanta?
In Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge, okay.
Yeah. Is it one of those things where you kept hearing about it and you're like, that might never happen?
Yeah, you'd heard rumors about a movie, about the Von Erich movie. In fact, I saw a script back, 8 or 10 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this has been
that somebody had written a script for, and Kevin had it. And somehow Bill Colville got a hold of it.
Okay.
And if you don't know who Bill Colville is, if you saw the Von Erich coming down the aisle and the guy in the cowboy hat, that's Bill Colville.
Yeah.
The security guard. In fact, I talked to him this morning on the phone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but. He somehow got a hold of that script, and we were laughing about it because we were reading it, and it was so hokey.
Oh,
it was horrible.
I'm sure it was rough.
Yeah, and I hope they don't do this, and thank God they didn't.
Yeah.
But this script was written by Sean Durkin, the guy that directed the movie, and it's there's things in the movie that aren't historically accurate.
But that's with everything.
Timelines, but it's a movie.
Yeah.
It's not a documentary.
Yeah, it's based on a true story.
But, you look at these scenes. That's those guys doing them.
Yeah.
And it was just a blast to be in there with them. And they were a joy to work with. Every one of them, just really nice guys.
And this is something that this is probably completely out of their wheelhouse, to my knowledge.
Oh, absolutely.
To my knowledge, I don't know if any of them were originally, wrestling fans. I don't know if Zac Efron's ever turned into Monday Night Raw or...
No, none of them were.
Yeah, exactly.
But they are now.
But also...
That's the thing.
That's what I was going to say. Of course, now they are now. But don't you think maybe that could have helped them also?
Could have been. They had a blank slate to start with.
They have no idea what they were getting themselves into.
Yeah.
And so having that blank slate, they don't watch it and think they know how everything should go.
That's
so
true.
They were taught completely from ground zero.
They've talked extensively about how much they appreciate what it took to do that.
Yeah.
And what they understand now that wrestlers have to learn and go through to get to that point. And they just did a just a touch of it.
Yeah.
And so they've become really fans of what we do and us, the wrestlers.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. Sean Durkin, the director, when we would do those scenes that you just saw, of course you just do them over and over and over and over
Of
again.
course, yeah. How many times can I do the same
it's the same
thing?
spot, over and over again. But we would do those scenes, and he would call me down out of the ring and over to the monitor, and he'd make me watch it, and he'd say, "Does that look good enough?"
That's cool.
And if it was good enough, I'd go, or if I had a suggestion, I'd say, "I think you should do this or something." Whatever. And if I said it was good enough, it was it.
Yeah.
And he did an interview with the actors that they were talking about making the film. It's on YouTube. You can find it somewhere. But about making the film, and when he was talking about that, he had a scene there that I was in, and he circled me, and he said, this guy was actually working with these guys back in the day, and he told the story about he would call me over and get my thumbs up for the scene. So
yeah,
it was just cool that he acknowledged that, and said that publicly. It was a wonderful experience.
Now, did you get a chance to go to the premiere?
Yes.
Was that now? Did you go to the premiere here in Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. You got to walk the green carpet.
Green carpet.
Yeah. My wife and my son went with me.
That's awesome.
And we got to go do all that business and sit there and watch the premiere with the actors were there next to us, and it was a great experience.
I was going to say that had to have been such a cool moment. Getting to experience that with your wife and your son, and just
and Randy, Randy out there, Randy and JB Patterson and some others went with us there. And it was a great night.
So I imagine from the time that you found the script, what'd you say, probably about 10 years ago?
Well, that was not the same script.
Okay, so
that
it was
a
not
totally different script.
But finding that script, and then fast forward 10 years, and you're at the premiere.
When they finally, I didn't, I'd heard rumors that there was something else brewing.
Yeah, something coming up.
Coming in. I got a phone call from Tim Storm, and he had talked to Luke Hawks at an NWA show, by the way.
Yeah.
And Luke had asked him if I might be interested in being a part of the movie. And I hadn't seen Luke in a long time. I'd known him for a good bit, but and always got along with Luke very well. Got a lot of respect for him. But he'd gotten involved in being in stunts and also doing some parts in movies and also in casting guys for those parts.
For different, okay.
Yeah, and he got involved in this, and he had asked Tim if he thought I might be interested in doing that, because he thought it'd be cool to have somebody who'd actually lived it to be there.
Absolutely, who was there,
and I told Tim, I said, tell Luke to call me. And he did. And I told him, I said, I'd love to do that if it, possible. I would never dream of being in a major motion picture,
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, I'm getting vetted, by A24 and
awesome.
Screen Actors Guild and all that. And
did you see a wave of something happen on your social media or anything like that?
When the rumors started coming out, a lot of people are curious about it. But there's only so much you can say, because you're in there doing the scenes, and you don't want to say too much anyway.
Yeah.
I remember when the first day I was there, then I was working with Zac Efron, and we walked outside and we took a picture together. And in fact, I think it's on one of these things. But we were outside and we took the picture together. And as we were walking away, he said, "Don't put this out until we're through." Because it didn't want anybody to see anything. And I, when you're doing these scenes, you get bits and pieces of scripts for that day. And you don't really know the whole story that they're telling
until you sat down and watched it.
I didn't know until I saw the whole movie.
Yeah, you knew what you were involved in.
I had a pretty good idea because I could read between the lines where he was going with some things, and I was right. It's really Kevin's movie.
Yeah.
It's about Kevin and his his relationship with his family and his brothers, and dealing with wrestling. How that is, and being the older brother and kind of getting passed over.
Yeah.
Because they made David really the guy that they were building to be the NWA champion back then.
Yeah.
And when David died, that went to Kerry, who was younger than Kevin.
Yeah.
And there were good reasons for both of those things.
Exactly. Yeah.
But and nothing negative about Kevin, but there was good reasons for that to be that way. But it's still, you can just imagine being an older brother and seeing all these opportunities,
the success of your younger brother.
And you kind of have to sit back and eat it because you love your brothers.
Of course. And
and they did. That's one thing about the Von Erich boys. They were genuinely tight.
Yeah. And you have to be happy for your brother in that scenario, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But you of course you're bummed.
Yeah.
Of course you're, yeah. And I mean, hats off to Zac Efron. I mean, he did an amazing job at that role, I feel.
One of it's kind of knowledge now, within the industry, the film industry, that was probably his most impressive role.
Yeah, I think he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, he was more bulked up than the Kevin ever was.
Yeah,
and he was bigger than Kerry in the movie, which is weird.
If I had one complaint, that was weird. When I saw them standing next to each other, I was like, oh man, Kerry was so much bigger.
But the thing, you have to put that out of your mind.
You do, yeah, exactly.
Put it out of your mind and think, this is a story, this is a movie, and a totally different story than reality.
Exactly.
And it's based on reality.
Exactly.
And, so and it really wasn't about Kerry. It was about Kevin.
Yeah.
What about David?
And just like you said, it was Kevin's movie.
Yeah. If you go back and think about, if you want to try to get everything about World Class and the Von Erich family involved in this thing, you would have to do an 8-hour documentary.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, for it to, and I remember hearing some complaints when the movie came out, and it was either they left this out or they didn't talk about
Chris
this.
out.
Yeah, they completely left Chris out. But it's got, they were trying to cram all this within a 2-hour window.
You can do it, and
if they had a 12 episode limited series on Netflix or something, then that would have been cool.
Sean told me himself that his original script had Chris involved in it.
Yeah.
But he felt like it was just another tragedy on top of more tragedies, and it was just too much.
Yeah.
And really Chris didn't have a lot to do with that particular story.
Yeah.
That time frame.
Yeah.
He's a great kid. But and he, I like Chris a lot, but he really wasn't a part of that story.
Yeah.
But it was just a necessity for him to pare it down.
Yeah.
And there's so many things.
And is there any way we can take a deeper dive into your social media or your connections? I think you got a book or something out there.
I do. I have a book. Yeah. In fact, it's called The Third Man. My Life and Times in and Out of the Ring, and that book was actually written about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it has there's a pretty extensive chapter in there about the Von Erichs. Each kind of broke it down to each one, my relationship with each one of them, and some other figures from this area that people would know. It's been pretty well received, done pretty well with that book, and I've got a second book that's in the can right now.
How do I go to your site and see all that?
Well, you can go to Amazon and get it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and or you can go to you can go to MemphisWrestling.com. That sounds weird, but that's true. Mark James is the publisher.
Okay, and what was that one again? What'd you say?
Memphis Wrestling.
Memphis Wrestling.
Yeah, that's Mark James's site, but you can get it there. Get it through Amazon. Yeah.
How long did the process for all that, writing that book? How long did that process take for you? I imagine some time.
It took a long time.
Yeah.
What happened was I was writing some stories for different websites back several years ago, and eventually, at some point in time, people started saying, "Well, you need to put all this together and make a book out of it." And I'm going, "No, I don't think anybody want to read a book, that I wrote." So I resisted that for a long time. And Dutch Mantell had written a couple of books with Mark James is his publisher, and Dutch told me one day, he said, "Yeah, you really need to do this." I had written a story about Memphis and about the USWA and my experience there and when it all blew up, which is not in this book, but it's in my new book.
Your new one, okay.
Yeah, and Dutch said, "Yeah, you need to put this stuff together and make a book, isn't it?" Because he'd done, And I said, "Okay, well, I'll just see what happens." And it took me 3 years to do it.
To get it all, yeah.
Yeah, because I rewrote a bunch of stuff and added a bunch of stuff and took some of this and added and mixed it with that, and it's just a long process. And plus, I'm busy.
Yeah.
It's
not like you could just sit and dedicate all your time to it.
And I'm thinking, I don't have time to sit here and write something right now.
Yeah.
And I was always on the go. Mm-hmm. So anyway, over a period of time, I finally got it all put together, and in fact, I had about 600 pages written.
Wow.
And Mark pared it down to what was included in this book, which is about 300 pages.
Okay.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. And some of those other pages that I'd already written, I have taken now and rewritten some of it and added things and updated some things, and that's going to be this next book.
Okay.
I don't know what the title's going to be yet.
Yeah.
Mark may come up with that, or maybe somebody will come up with something worth. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be stories about my time with the NWA. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
About all that experience and about the transition to Billy. Mm-hmm. Stories about the Global Wrestling Federation, which I was involved in. A lot of stuff about Japan when I was working over there for several years.
Now, does the book that you have out right now, does that touch on any of your Japan stuff?
No, maybe there's maybe briefly. A couple of little things in there, but nothing extensive. But this is pretty detailed about it.
Yeah. How many times did you go over there?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It was over a 7-year period.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it was a lot of times.
Jeez.
Lots of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like my life. Uh-huh. I would go to Japan and do a tour, work in the training center, do another tour, come home, work at Sportatorium or wherever. Akbar would usually have a bunch of bookings for me, and I'd go do those. And then I'd go back to Japan and do all that again. Sometimes I'd stay over there 6 or 8 weeks at a time.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were just back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
that's not. There's another chapter in this new book is about working in Germany. Yeah. And I think I touched on working in Singapore and some other places.
That is so cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but this book is kind of like the. I don't know. There's a chapter in there about Eddie Gilbert, who I work closely with. Mm-hmm. I was trying to remember everything I put in there. There's a bunch of stuff that I'd already written that I rewrote, and then I wrote some updated things, some TSW and our SWE experience. I put that in there. Okay. Which kind of led into this part of it. Yeah. And talked about some of the talent that's around today, including yourself, and just kind of updated people a little bit about. Because I thought when I wrote that book, the first book, I thought I was retiring.
So you thought, now is that retiring from?
Well, I mean, and really the theme of this new book is Akbar told me one time that if you're ever truly in the wrestling business, you can't retire from it. Yeah. You either die or quit getting booked. Well, I'm not dead yet. And for some reason, I started getting booked again. and I think a lot of it had to do with the book. Yeah. And a lot of it had to do with at that point in time, I'd just gotten a couple of Hall of Fame honors, the Cauliflower Alley honor. Got involved in a lot of other things that I hadn't been involved in before, and it just started snowballing. And the SWE thing came along, and this, and it's just one thing after another, So I've had almost like a second career in the last 10, 12 years.
So you were considering retiring altogether?
Well,
10 years ago or so?
I was thinking, I would still take a booking or two or an appearance or a clinic or something like that, because I knew that you can't just walk away and never do anything again. I understand what ACT meant by that. Yeah. And it's true. Mm-hmm. I heard. I've heard several people say the similar thing. You know, that you know, you're always there. You think you might be retired. Even some of the most jaded guys in the business walk away from it. But if you go ask them, will you do this? You know, make an appearance
9 times
here,
out of 10, the answer's gonna
they'll
be
jump
yes,
right on it. Yeah. So there's always that, and so I knew that, but I really thought that I'm just going to be home now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, just relax.
And but I've traveled almost as much in the last 10 or 12 years as I did back when I was really on the road.
Exactly. And it's so hard. You think you want to relax and shut your mind off. And then when you do, then really your mind starts racing even more. And it's like, man, I miss it.
I admit I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I like the creativity side of it.
Exactly.
You know, that's the part of it I've always loved. You know, I love being in the ring. I enjoy being in the ring, and I was good at it.
Yeah.
But I have always had a real passion for the behind the scenes thing, the creative part.
Yeah.
And that can be, you know, mind boggling sometimes.
Oh, I'm sure. And that's something that I've never really had much experience with, but I'm getting a little bit of that with, you know, TSW, with Texas Style Wrestling.
Yeah, just simply putting matches together that make sense.
Yeah.
You know, that's beyond trying to make, like if you're in an issue with Ivan Warsaw, you know, we have to put you guys in situations where that if you're going to do that and find an ending to it somewhere down the road, we got to put you guys in situations where that keeps building. Yeah,
exactly.
And that part.
And that was the other thing too. Is like, where does that come from? Where does that theme and that style and that?
It comes from storytelling. Even if it's natural, even if it's a natural rivalry, there's still a storytelling vibe to it, you know, because you want it to build. I don't want them to just go in there and have one match and be over with. I mean, I want them to.
Well, it's also an evolution of the character itself, your own character getting in that moment. And
yes.
And you start.
Yeah.
And that was the one that I was trying to figure out why Warsaw is so bad, so evil. What makes him so mad? You know?
He's a nut. He's smart. He's a very intelligent nut, but he's a nut. And that's the way guys are in this business. Some of them are like that. You know, some of them are just very down to earth, easygoing, level-headed guys, and some of them are just crazier than heck. You know, and he's one of those. But he's talented, and he's smart, and you know that. You know, but and you're right. You want to take advantage of those things and those personalities. But as somebody in the creative side of this, you want to build that, because in wrestling, what wrestling is to me is making people care, is making people invest in guys like Bam Bam or even Warsaw. They may invest to hate.
Yeah.
You know, it could be that. Some people love guys like that, you know.
Yeah.
But as long as there's an emotion involved, as long as you can make them feel something for them and for their situation, then as a creative person in wrestling, you're doing your job. And so you put them in situations that builds that.
Well, what's great is, you know, outside the ring, going into signing up on the paper or getting some memorabilia, I'd ask him, like, hey, what does it take for one of you guys to if you wanted to battle someone else, or if I wanted, you know, if you were a wrestler and you wanted to go after Walsall, how do you do it?
Sometimes it happens that way. Sometimes a guy will come up to me and say, I want that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, well, you know, I mean, maybe at some point, you know, if it works out right, we'll give you an opportunity and see how it goes. You know.
And the other kind is they start talking crap about him.
Well,
right?
and then that happens sometimes too, and it's just organic. Then you know, it's like theirs started totally organically.
And with Warsaw and I, that he's just a bully, man. And if there's one thing in this world I can't stand is a bully. And it really seemed like nobody else in the back, you know, talent-wise, was there to do anything about it. And I sat back and I watched and I watched and I watched, and finally I lost it. I couldn't handle it anymore. And me stepping up to Ivan, I think he sees it as a sign of disrespect. And it's not by all means.
I think probably at first he did.
Yeah,
we talked about this. I think he kind of
Yeah, I think
turned that around a little bit
yeah,
now.
I think
now it's just an ego thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I have all the respect in the world for him. I don't like him, and I don't have to, and that's fine. We really can't be in the room with each other for too long, and I don't know if that'll ever change. But does he have my respect? Yes. But any opportunity I get to beat his face in, and, and whether that's my ego, I want to beat him, and it's because I know how good he is. I know how good he is. I know what he's done and where he's been, and I want to be. And
the residual side of that is that also enhances his personality, because it's showing a different side of him that fans may not have seen.
Well, and who knows what kind of evolution will happen when you guys battle it out.
Exactly.
There might be and the other thing is, I know probably a lot of people know this, but what is the backstory of Bam Bam Malone? What is your back? How do I find that out? Do I go on your Instagram and stuff? I mean, because I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Come find me on Instagram. It's just Bam Bam Malone 27. I'm sure we can get it pulled up here. And we were talking about a little earlier. I wanted to kind of come back around to it. We were talking about how everybody wants to kind of peek behind the curtain nowadays, and I think a lot of that has to do with look at shows like Hard Knocks. Like the NFL does, and they have all these reality shows that take you behind the locker room, and see what those guys are like during the week. And I think us as wrestlers, we're no different than that, right? So I think people, they see us as a performer, but they want to know a little bit more about us, and that's why tools like social media and stuff, and you can post as much wrestling stuff as you want, and that's great and dandy, but people want to see, they just want to peek just a little bit behind that curtain and see, what it's like to be not only Bam Bam Malone, but what it's like to be Chase Malone, the person.
Well, and I think sometimes that actually enhances the character.
I think so too.
Even the real life part of you enhances that part of you. Yeah. Because all of us are, even if you're Bam Bam Malone, the wrestler, you're also Chase Malone. And some of that always gets integrated into each other. And sometimes it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
I've seen guys take the ring persona and it starts affecting their real life too.
Yeah.
So it can go either way.
Well, how did it come about? What made you what made you who you are?
So Bam Bam Malone, it's just myself turned up to 12.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I feel those are, and I'm sure James can agree, I feel like those are the best types of situations because you're already comfortable.
But
right?
when you were growing up and you were working out and you got into the zone where it was that was the name, that was the persona, that was who you became, and where did that come from? If you could give me a back, when you must have had matches. And
oh man, so I have a younger brother who's 5 years younger than me, and my dad, we had a square trampoline in the backyard. My dad took us down the Lowe's and we bought anchors and rope and hung ropes around the trampoline. And so my brother and I, we would go out there and we would just wrestle, and we'd have our foam little WWE titles, and we'd take our titles out there and wrestle for them. And originally when I was born, I was going to be named Blake. I was going to be Blake Allen Malone. And my initials would have been Bam. So my mom and dad were just going to call me Bam Bam. And so even at a young age, I'm fifth, sixth grade or so, I was Bam Bam Malone. And I would be out there wrestling my brother as whatever name he came up with. And we would take pieces of Scotch tape because we didn't want to write on the actual title, right? Because it's going to switch eventually. I'm going to beat my younger brother. I'm going to win that title back. So we would take pieces of Scotch tape and put it over the nameplate at the bottom. And then we would take a Sharpie. And I'd write Bam Bam Malone, or he would write whatever name he was coming out as, at the time. And then when we had a title change, you just rip that piece of Scotch tape off, slap another one, and new title holder.
if guys in this business were really honest, nearly every one of them went through something like that. Nearly every one of them was wrestling a pillow or a teddy bear or
Stuffed
something.
animals,
when they were a kid and pretending to be, somebody, that they looked up to as a wrestler, and most of them would never admit that, but that's just fact.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. And then when you finally get the opportunity to really be a part of it, it's a freaky thing.
Well, it kind of reminds me of something like Superman. I mean, not Superman, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Man, he looked up to all the other guys as well.
Yeah.
But he started transforming into this persona and had to.
Yeah.
Well, who am I?
Yeah.
Where am I going? And he had to battle, and that's the same thing.
It very much is.
And I feel that your character changes at every match.
Yeah.
Involving Warsaw focused you more on, I got to get rid of this guy. I got to get rid of this bulliness.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's always an evolution in character, and a lot of that comes from just experience. You're going to change certain things about the way your style is, because you learn every time you get in the ring. You learn something.
And even when I very first broke in, my very first match ever, I didn't go by the name Bam Bam Malone. I was the Teen Dream. And that's because I was 18 years old, and the idea that I had in my head was I would come out, I'd wear the Letterman, I'd have the cheerleaders on each arm, and I'm the Teen Dream. Well, I didn't quite think about that at the time. Yes, I was 18, but I did not look 18. I've always looked older than I really was. So I looked more like a pedophile walking out with high school girls, and I was like, okay, so we're going to change that. We're going to drop the teen.
Well, you also didn't think of the fact you can't be 18 forever.
Yeah, I can't be the Teen Dream forever.
Yeah,
so
no,
that's when they gave me the name Bull Malone. And I was like, Bull Malone? And they're like, yeah, Bull. And so I asked him, I said, well, what about Bull Bam Bam Malone? And they're like, yeah, we'll run with that. And before I went out, I
got rid of the bull.
Grabbed the announcer, and I was like, hey, cut the bull.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Started off as the Teen Dream.
Yeah. Well, and most wrestlers do go through a process, before they get to a point where they're really comfortable with who they are and their persona and how they present themselves, and that's always changing too a little bit, as you go. The older you get, and situations change, and you change.
Yeah,
it's just the way it is. Even myself, as a referee, I did the same thing.
And is that and for those that don't know too much about your career, can you tell us a little bit about that? Is it all referee, nothing but?
You're talking about, is that all I did?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I started out doing in this business. But I always had my eye on being behind the scenes and being involved in the creative side of things. And I was, most of my career, I did a little bit of both.
Okay.
I would, at the first, I was just learning the business like everybody else does, gaining experience. But at some point, in fact, it happened in Japan, really. I got the opportunity to show my creative side a little bit. And they just picked up and started snowballing a little bit, and then it carried over to here, and I became kind of like this. We were talking about that earlier before we went on the air. I was kind of the second banana a lot of times. They have the booker, and then I was the booker's assistant, the second guy, which I kind of enjoyed because I could come up with all these ideas, and he would take them and tweak them or whatever and put them out there. And if they worked, then fine, he got credit. That's fine. They didn't work, then I didn't get the blame for it.
Falls on someone else.
Yeah, but there were a lot of times I come up with ideas and give it to whoever the booker was, and they do it, and it worked out pretty well, and nobody ever knew who did it, and that was fine. I didn't mind that at all. I kind of enjoyed being that guy. But when I had opportunities to be the guy, the one that had to come up with the ideas and creative side of things, and I enjoyed that too. Still do.
Can you give me one of the journeys that you had out there in Japan? Like, what was it like? Was there interpreters? What was the?
Well, okay. My second trip to Japan, my first trip over there is a whole other story. I thought I was going over there for like one deal. It was a big production thing. They wanted an American referee there to make it look like an international thing. And it was a 2-show deal, and I thought I'm going to Japan, and that's all I'm going to do is that 2-show thing, and I get to say I went to Japan, which was a big deal back then. And in those days, you really had to be on the top of your game to go to Japan. I mean, it's a different world today, but back in those days, you had to be one of the top guys. And as a referee, that was really unusual. You know, a few times they'd have a referee go over there and maybe do a tour, or if they were coming over with one of the promotions or something, and maybe to do a special match or something like that. But and that's kind of what I was doing then. Mm-hmm. Well, at the end of those 2 nights that I was over there the first time, Kabuki, who was the booker for the Japanese company at the time, gave me my pay and told me, he said, "Okay, you come back next month." And I'll go, "Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, all right. I get to come back." Well, I came back, and the first leg of the tour was all Japanese guys and me. I was the only American.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which was strange.
I'm sure that was hard. Yeah.
It was different. Yeah. And then and after that tour was over with, they took me to the training center, and they told me, said, "Write down every wrestling term you can think of in English, and we're going to use these to teach the young boys, you know."
Oh, so the English version.
Yeah, because most wrestling terms are in English.
Yeah.
Japanese just didn't have a wrestling term for one thing or the other, you know, and so they just learned the English word. Mm-hmm. And so they wanted me to write down everything I could. I was amazed at how much I could write.
Yeah.
Just all the moves, holds, parts of the ring, everything. Mm-hmm. Anything I could think of, I wrote down. And so they made a little pamphlet out of it.
So that's cool. So they would use that to teach the young boys.
Yeah. Tim Storm, he kind of exaggerates it a little bit. He tells people I wrote the Book of Wrestling in Japan.
Okay. But hey, we'll run with it.
It's a bit of a stretch of the truth.
Yeah.
But I'll take it.
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead and take it. Take the credit for it.
Yeah, I'll let him tell that tale. But anyway, after I did that, they had a young guy who had just transferred or just retired from sumo that was beginning to train, and they were trying to get him ready for the ring. And Hito was the main trainer of the company. If you don't know who Hito is, look him up. He was an amazing trainer, an amazing wrestler, mostly in Canada and some in the United States with Sakurada, Mr. Sakurada, Mr. Hito. But anyway, he was the head trainer there, and had this guy that they were Ishin Riki. They were grooming to start in the business from sumo, and so I would get in the ring and I'd start telling him these things, and then and I'd have all this stuff that I was telling him, but I'd have to show him.
Yeah.
You know, this headlock, this is whatever takeover, anything.
Toss,
yeah,
whatever,
you name it. So I'd have to show it to him. Uh-huh. Well, I smartened up pretty quick and got one of the young boys in there.
Quit taking all the bumps.
I let them take the bumps. You know, but that's where I started training guys. That got me into that side of things.
Okay.
You know, so that was another I guess little
avenue that
another little thing that I was doing. And so the language part that you were asking about, that's really where that all fit in, you know, and because wrestling over there, if a lot of it is just catch, react, like you do this and I'm going to do this. You don't even say anything.
And it doesn't have to be a lot of verbal. Yeah,
no,
it really doesn't.
It's just natural.
Yeah, action, reaction.
But when you do, there's that language that's mostly English. And that's how they learn it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I was doing there. Mm-hmm. But you asked about the creative side. I'd been over there, I don't know how long, quite a while, and the company I was working with made a deal with WWF. So they were sending guys over on every tour. And it created a situation. This is in the book, by the way, the new book. Mm-hmm. It created a situation where there was some resentment at the top because the company was supposed to be like a strong style company. That was supposed to be the way the wrestling was presented. And WWF at the time was probably anything but a strong style company.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was a lot of showmanship and a lot of things going on, you know, on American TV that the guys were definitely capable, because most of them came from the territories, and most of them were top guys from the territories back in those days. But you know, this was the days of Hogan and Savage and Bret Hart and all those, you know, all those guys. Early 1990, 91.
91, okay. Maybe 92,
yeah. And anyway, it was creating some dissension in the company because a lot of the guys that started with the company were upset that they had those guys coming in and they weren't fitting that style.
Okay, gotcha.
And they were getting some bad press over it. And they didn't really have any angles going on, any kind of really personal things going on so much. And it wasn't catching on. And Randy Savage came over on one of those tours. And I had already been over there for one leg of the tour, and they took me to the hotel, which is what they typically would do. And I met Randy Savage and Jim Neidhart that night. They told me they were coming in, so I met them downstairs. And Randy was unhappy. He'd just gotten off of a pay-per-view. I can't remember which one it was now, but he wasn't happy with his payoff. He wasn't happy with the way they were using him.
Yeah.
He wasn't happy about nothing. He wasn't happy about being in Japan because he thought they were just sending him over there to get him out of Vince's hair. That's what he told me. Mm-hmm. And anyway, we got to talking, and we stayed up probably till 6 o'clock that next morning talking.
Yeah.
And and during that time, I told Randy what was going on with the company and why there was some trouble and problems and things. And he said, well, if I'm going to be over here, I want to do something to make a difference. I want to do something. And so we started talking about these ideas for maybe something he could get involved in over there and maybe stir up some interest. Mm-hmm. And we came up with a couple of pretty good ideas, and he took it to the office the next day. He said, I'm going to take it to them, and they're going to do it. You know Randy.
Yeah,
you know
they're going to do it.
They're going to do it. I'm going to take it. Tenu was the main guy. I'm going to take it there, and we're going to do that, and I want you to be a part of it. I went, okay, well, cool. You know, I mean, I don't necessarily need any credit, but cool if you do.
Cool, let's do it.
Yeah, and he did. Mm-hmm. Randy took it to the office, and he told them the idea, and they loved it, and we did it just like that, and I was involved in it. And from that point on, it got over. It got a lot of press, good press, positive press for the first time in a while.
That's awesome.
And from that point on, they would come to me about finishes and about ideas. And when the company ended up splitting, Sakurada, who took me over there the first time, Kendo Nagasaki is his wrestling name, he took part of the company with him. And of course, since I was with him, I went with him.
Yeah.
And when I went with him, he gave me a lot of responsibility, booking guys from the States, booking in the matches, ideas, the whole bit. So I wasn't. That started happening over there, and by it happening over there, it kind of started happening over here. Because back in those days, if you do something in Japan, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And they made a big deal out of it here. Global Wrestling Federation at the time was running, and they made a big deal of me being in Japan all the time, and it just kind of grew from there. You know, they kind of had a reputation of, he can come up with some ideas. He knows how to do this.
Just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, and so and that's what's going on today, right now in TSW. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just a result of all of that, really, and it all started there in Japan.
So was the backstage, was that, even when you first broke into the business, is that something that you already had on your mind?
Absolutely.
Right from the jump?
You know, I enjoy being in the ring. I told you that. I really do. That's a whole nother thing, whole another aspect of the business that I really enjoy. The being one of the guys that helps develop that in the ring.
Yeah.
And is the crowd the same when the Japan crowd and the American crowd? Do they get quiet? Or
Oh no. They were back. And I don't know what they're like now, but back then they were very quiet for the most part.
And it was out of respect, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were smart.
Yeah.
They would clap if you did something really good, and they'd laugh at you if you did something stupid.
Yeah.
And once in a while, if you did something just really remarkable, you'd get a little pop. But it wasn't like the audience is here.
Like an American crowd where they're
No,
popping
not at
for
all.
everything. Yeah.
No. It would take something really special to get them to really pop.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that happen a few times, which is cool.
Yeah.
You know? But it's a very different audience. Yeah, back then. I think it's a little more westernized and a little different today than it used to be. But
And I'm sure because they looked at it as a true sport, you know, and you look at it.
They did. They treated
go to a baseball game.
They treated us. They treated us just like any other professional athlete.
Yeah.
The baseball players or basketball
players.
players.
Go to a baseball game.
Yeah.
You know, if you hit a ground out to first, the crowd's not losing their mind.
Yeah.
You hit that big home run, you do something that gets them off their feet. Then, but you know, you had to make them work for it.
Yeah, and they were covered over there in the media, just like all the other sports.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what's so great about the UFC. The difference between UFC. I mean, they were smacking the people in the face.
Yeah.
Here, we respect. You know. We were at least some of them do.
We try.
I know when the ref's back is turned, that's a whole other story. But essentially, you know, they battle it out physically to get you tired and get you out because they want you out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But as far as blood and guts and all, I mean, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's what's so interesting about this field, and that's where the ring is, and that's where the respect is.
Yep.
And that's what's it. And a lot of people, you know, they put the F word out there, the fake one out.
Well, that's what we call cheap heat.
Yeah.
When you have to use things like that, or you know, you're insulting the audience's town, or you do something really extreme, that's what we call cheap heat. Mm. Real heat in wrestling is when it's like a guy who tries to get around the rules, and does that in a way that you know the fans know what the rules are, and they know what he's supposed to be doing, but he still tries to get around.
Finding ways to sneak around it. Yeah. And it's not obvious. It's not blatant.
No,
it's not right. And he finds a sneaky, crappy way to do things.
Yeah. And the truth is that a lot of problems in the wrestling business today is the fact that they don't have rules and consistent rules. Mm-hmm. You know, if you watch TV wrestling, you know, some of the big TVs, you know, a rule might mean one thing in this match, and the next match it doesn't mean anything at all. Mm-hmm. You know, or they ignore the rule in this match, and the next match they enforce it. It's it just takes away from the experience of the fan, because if you have rules and the fans know what the rules are, they know what to like and what not to like, and what to disagree with and what to agree with, and that's how you get heat. As a bad guy, if he's doing those things and the crowd sees it and they know that's against the rules because they know what the rules are, then he can get heat. If you don't know what the rules are, you can't really get heat. It's impossible. You might make them mad by saying something or doing something, but that's not really heat.
And just like you said, it's cheap heat. Anybody can walk out and insult the crowd, can, you know, call them ugly, whatever they want to do. Yeah. But if you're really good at what you do, you could find other ways to. You don't even have to speak to them, and that's just let your actions do it.
And that kind of heat sustains.
Yeah,
it stays with them.
Mm-hmm. So, what's some of the new battles that's going to happen coming up? What's happening in this TSW?
TSW? Well, you know, we've got a lot of things happening actually. You know, we got some issues like we talked about, Ivan and Bam Bam. We've got Damage, and Tim Storm is another. What is our other masked guy's name? Tormenta.
Yeah, Tormenta.
Yeah. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of
very interesting rivalry.
Yes, it is. It's kind of one of those things where everybody knows what's going on, but they're they're ignoring the fact that everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, they're sticking to the plan.
Yeah, it's great, and you've got some great junior heavyweights that are kind of battling things out right now. Tino Valentino is got the title, but
Tino's good, man. He's so good.
He is incredible. He really is. He's a cocky little rascal.
He is, but man, he moves so effortlessly.
Yeah, but we got Soda Pop, who was the champion, and he'll probably be contending for it again. And Johnny Lyons, another guy. We've got a lot of good junior heavyweights.
Yeah, we really do. We're strong in all divisions.
Yeah,
I mean, even the women's division, the heavyweight, the junior heavyweight, like you said, we're definitely stacked in every division. I don't feel there's one division that falls short to the other. I think.
Absolutely not. There's talent up and down the roster, and it keeps getting better. We keep improving the roster.
Exactly.
And the more competition, the more competitive it is, the better fans are going to like it.
Exactly. Yeah. And going back to the merger with NWA, it's just going to keep the better. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to be seeing some NWA guys coming in here and see this thing right here, this belt that we haven't put that around anybody's waist yet. But whoever gets that's going to have a target on their back.
Yeah,
and you know that.
Yeah,
that's something you're aspiring to. But if you happen to win it, then everybody's going to be gunning for you, and that's not going to just be TSW guys now. It's going to be guys from Arkansas, guys from South Texas, guys from West Texas, and guys from the NWA.
And is this a belt you're after, Bam Bam?
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell me about this belt. How does it work? Wait, what's on this belt?
This is the Texas Style Wrestling Heavyweight Championship, and that will be the top dog in our promotion.
And I look at myself as the top dog, honestly. I really do. And there's only one way to prove that, and that's by having that title around your waist. So with any opportunity, any chance that I get, the first chance that I get at that title, I promise you I'm going to make the most of it, and you'd be willing to bet on Bam Bam on that one.
Some people say that getting a title is the easiest part.
Yeah.
Hanging on to it's the hardest part.
Yeah, and you think... some people make the mistake once you reach that, right? Once you do win that title, okay, we accomplished that goal. Let's lay back. In reality, no. Just like you said, you have every single target on your back now.
Oh, wow.
And so, no, there is no rest for the champ. No, and now you might have busted your tail getting there, but now that you're there, well, guess what? Buckle down, because nothing else changes. You got to work even harder at that point.
It's kind of like the Golden Grill, and that's what it should be traditionally in wrestling. I see a lot of promotions nowadays where it just kind of swaps hands every week.
It's a prop.
It doesn't mean much. It's a prop. This is going to be about competition.
And why is it? And it's symbol of Texas on there. It's got an oil rig on there. This is very much like the original Texas Championship belt that I held in world class. Wow!
I didn't win it. I held it a lot of times, but it's very, very similar to that. And it's got the different areas of the country represented on it. The oil, you said the oil wells. That's East Texas, and Kilgore, Tyler, all that, Longview, all that area. My home beat.
I think you just said country, because Texas it is its own country.
It is its own country. Yeah, we're Texas is a state of mind. They say, and then we have a big mind.
Yes. Yeah. Is it Bunk and Bronco on there as well?
Yeah, I think so. I don't. Yeah, that's out in West Texas.
So it's a beautiful
rodeo guys.
This next match coming up, that's what everyone's battling for?
This is going to be. We haven't really actually decided exactly how we're going to do it right now. My thinking right now is we'll probably end up with some sort of tournament to decide.
Gotcha.
And I'm not sure how many people will be involved in that. We may select like a top 8 or something like that, and have a tournament over a period of weeks.
Yeah, Bam Bam. How many of these belts do you have?
Currently, right now, I'm in possession of 2. Now, both of those are outside of Texas Style Wrestling, outside of TSW. But being completely honest with you, that's the main one that I have my eyes on right there. And it's a beautiful gold belt, and I think it would look great around gold girls in glory.
Go right along with your attire.
Yep, it sure does. Matches my tights and everything.
That was the other thing I was wondering about too, because when you're getting in a relationship, or how do you find that? And do you tell them your persona? I mean, how does that work? I mean, you're out doing your thing. You might be incognito in a bar or something like that.
Oh yeah, man. It's definitely.
I've known some guys that wear them to bars.
Yeah.
That's kind of a no-no in the business.
Yeah. Leave them in the car. Leave them in the trunk. But are you talking about like just meeting people in general, or
exactly,
or meeting like a new relationship, or it's definitely an interesting topic, interesting subject to bring up, and.
You usually have to kind of ease into it.
Yeah.
And most of my relationships, not necessarily just women, just friends, anybody. If you just go right off the bat and say I'm in the wrestling business, they kind of it's kind of like,
what do you mean?
Yeah, kind of a sideways look. But at some point something comes up and you just have to tell them, and explain that to them. And sometimes you find out, you're surprised. You find out that they watch it and respect what you do. And some of them have no clue about it at all,
going on,
which is okay.
Yeah.
But that's just part of being in this business. It's an unusual business. It's not in the mainstream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember people wanting to dive more into your background. They were like, what are you and your girlfriend doing, or what?
And like she, I mentioned before we started recording, my girlfriend, she's a huge MMA fan. So when I told her that I do professional wrestling, she thought more amateur style wrestling, like collegiate wrestling. She had no idea that it was, she calls it WWE wrestling is how she went about it. And until she found my social media. And then she was like, oh, then the light bulb went off in her head, and she was a little skeptic of it, of course, at first, but once she came to the shows, and actually her very first show ever was a TSW show.
Was it?
At the Addison, the airport hangar. This was last June, and she was blown away. The production, the actual wrestling itself, and she had the time of her life. She loved it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they think wrestling outside of WWE or what they see on TV, they think about some of these little small indie shows and
kind of a rinky-dink mud show,
low production type situations, and those all have their place for sure. But I think they're really surprised to see the quality of production that TSW is, and it's something we can be proud of. And I wouldn't be ashamed to take any of my family here whatsoever.
No, absolutely
and
not.
my wife doesn't go to wrestling matches. She went when we first got together years and years ago. She went to I don't know 5 or 6. Because she was intrigued by it, I guess, a little bit, or just wanted to be with me or whatever. But that wore out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
She's not a big fan.
Yeah, and every now and then she'll come to a local one.
Yeah.
She's always here at the OC. We're just right down the road, but most of the time it's just myself, and that's fine, and like we said earlier, like it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. That's okay. That's fine.
And essentially, I bet you go and you'll probably even drop down in some certain situations where you go to a small town and you're like, I'm gonna, if somebody's bugging you, I guess enough, I'm gonna go whip that boy's. And I don't care what ranking he's in. If he's talking smack, you'd go down to the lowest, or some small town. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we find ourselves in small towns all the time, traveling around, and a lot of times the small towns is what draw the biggest crowds, because that Saturday night there's nothing else going on. Yeah. They don't have options.
Yeah. So I was in Big Spring last week, and I swear half that town is dead. Mm-hmm. It looks like a ghost town.
Wow.
And we had a huge crowd.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like they just came out of the woodwork.
But what else did they probably have going on that Saturday night?
That's true too. There might not be a lot else going on in town. I don't know, but they came to wrestling.
Yeah,
and they got their money's worth.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I remember being sent out in going to cover an event. I just can't believe how the performance, even out there in the middle of nowhere, and I was surprised multiple times. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
Well, you know, there's a saying in wrestling, if you're really in it as a professional, that it doesn't matter if there's 30 people or 3,000 people or 30,000 people. You work just as hard anyway. And I could show you examples of that. You know, from all these years in the business, when you know you think you're going to have a big crowd and there's nobody there for whatever reason. The promotion wasn't good, or maybe weather, or it could be a lot of things. And you go out there and work just as hard and compete just as hard in those matches as you do when the lights are on.
A win is a win. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's 50 people in the crowd. It doesn't matter if there's 5,000 people in the crowd. A win's a win. Yeah. So you know, of course, it is great when you walk out and there's hundreds of thousands of people there. But if there's tens of dozens of people, then guess what? A win's still a win. You got to put on a show for those people.
Yeah, and what I thought also fascinating about what the character that you become, you know, Bam Bam might go on and do a movie like The Rock or something, and he's always going to be that wrestler.
Yeah,
he's always going to have that mentality.
Yep.
And that the image never goes. He could be at the meat market as a meat man.
He's still,
you know,
he's
but
still
he's still
the Rock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That does. That's something that does carry with you. Yeah, you have a little bit of that with you, no matter where you are. And I'm the same way. You know, I've always got that in my head, you know, that's who I am.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, geez, some of my closest friends and family. I mean, my cousin, we're 3 months apart. We grew up as brothers. I'm Bam.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Grew up calling me Chase my whole entire life, but I'm Bam.
The only difference is, like you said, when the lights come on, you turn it up a few notches.
Yeah.
You know, and there you are.
Naturally. Yeah. I walk around at about a 7 or 8. When the lights come on, I step through the curtain and straight to 12.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the life. That's the way it is. That's the way it should be.
Well, awesome. So what do we expect to happen coming up? Is there a date?
We have got the 24th or 26th?
September 26th.
26th. September 26th. We've got open house right here. TEXtv, the studios. We want to have all kinds of stuff going on. We've got a band coming in. There's going to be all kinds of entertainment. Tour of the studios. Man, I tell you, it's going to be a big deal.
Do I have to buy a ticket or something? How do I get involved?
So you can go, just go to TEXtv.com. You can fill out your the information, the form on there. You'll put your email address, and then that way you'll get emailed directly.
You become part of the mailing list. Get on here and become a part of the family.
And what is this exactly? What is this TEXtv stuff?
TEXtv is a brand new. Well, it's something that hasn't actually launched yet. It's going to be a streaming outlet, and somebody may be able to tell more about this detailed wise than I can. But it's going to be a streaming outlet that's going to have all Texas content. It could be wrestling, it could be music, it could be variety shows, it could be talk shows, it could be this podcast is going to be on there.
Yeah.
A lot of things, but they're all Texas related in some way, and it's going to be a streaming network. My understanding is the hope is to launch definitely before the first of the year, hopefully.
Sometime this calendar.
But we don't have a definite date now. I think things are just getting really, really close to ready, and that's an exciting thing because there's so many opportunities that brings. I mean, it's not just just like this.
Yeah.
You know, we're involved in the wrestling, all right, but now this is part of it, or going to be part of it.
Yeah.
Right now, you can go ahead and get a little head start with us because you can get us on YouTube.
Yeah.
But when TEXtv comes about, all of this is going to be on there, and it's just such a great opportunity for creative people to come up with ideas. That you might be able to put on the streaming network.
Yeah. So do I just go here on this site, TEXtv, .com, and do I sign up and then I'll figure out where the tickets are? for this upcoming event here at the OC?
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. Just fill out your information on there, and then you'll get emailed with updates. It's going to give you more information once we get a little closer to time on how everything works.
And it's going to be in this ring here, or how's it going to?
It's going to be all through the studios, the way I understand it.
Yeah, so we'll be touring the studios.
Yeah.
The actual studios. So
you get to see all the studios. Going to have, like I said, we're going to have a band here. It's going to be a big deal.
Yeah,
big
it's
party
going to be really cool
for all of our fans, for the people who are interested in TEXtv and learning a little bit more about it. It's just going to be a great day.
Yep, I'm going to be there. We may even have some talent from NWA there as well too.
We're going to definitely have some talent from NWA there, and some of our people will be there. Texas Style Wrestling stars will be there. It'll be a big deal. That's our next big event. What we ought to also say is that this podcast is going to be on every Tuesday. It's going to be launched every Tuesday at 6 o'clock on YouTube right now, and at some point, like I said, it'll be on TEXtv also, and then on Thursdays at 6 p.m. For the time being, there will be matches shown from Texas Style Wrestling,
so we'll start releasing new matches that we've had recorded here recently. And now, if you do want to go catch up on any previous episodes, then you can go to TexasStyleWrestling.com. So that's going to be all of our past episodes. But we're also going to be uploading new episodes starting this upcoming Thursday at 6. So just be on the lookout for those. Tuesday at 6, we drop live on YouTube with the podcast, and then Thursday nights at 6, we drop on TexasStyleWrestling.com for new episodes.
And then October 12th, we're going to get cranked back up doing live shows right here at the OC.
So you got plenty of time right now to go back, watch all the past episodes.
We'll be talking about those.
Yep, get caught up on everything, and then when October 12th rolls around, buy a ticket, come to the OC, and be here for it.
We'll be trying to catch people up on some of the details of what's going on with Texas Style Wrestling over the next few weeks while we're doing this podcast. We'll be talking about that and some other things as well. We get off on tangents sometimes, like we did today, but that's okay. That's part of it. And we'll have some other guests here. Tim Storm will be here. We'll probably bring in Jazz and Roddy Mack and some of the other stars of Texas Style Wrestling to be a guest here. I might even be able to talk to my old friend JBL to come in and say hi or something.
Oh, absolutely.
And speaking of that, on October 12th, we're going to have a special event with JBL and some other Texas wrestling celebrities here at the OC early in the afternoon before the live wrestling. That'll be a special occasion, a special room. We're going to have all the fans come in. They're going to be able to ask questions. They're going to be able to talk to us. We're going to be telling stories. It's going to be a very personal type experience for the fans that want to attend that, and I'm looking forward to that. We'll have some more details about it coming up really soon and about who all will be here, but we're going to try to get some people that have some significance in this area in wrestling over in the past and be a part of the panel there, and it'll be a very unique experience for fans.
And like we said earlier, get here early, come check that out, come grab you a bite to eat here at the OC, and then hang out and watch live wrestling.
And then you got wrestling that night, and that will be the launch of TSW or Texas Style Wrestling NWA.
Yeah, and what's also interesting is there's a video game I heard's in the works.
Yes, we haven't even talked about that, have we?
No, we haven't.
Yeah, I've seen some little bits and pieces of that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, what I think is ironic is I was researching here recently, and they were saying, Michael Jackson, that's not his real voice. Have you heard of this? So Michael Jackson, he talks like this all the time. Well, his friends would say, oh, man, that's not what he sounds like. If you ever wanted to see what he sounds like, there's a video game where he is a wrestler in the game.
Really?
And he speaks with his real voice.
Really?
Yes, I couldn't believe. You got to look it up. If you take the screenshot right now, we got some of the makings of the Texas Style Wrestling's video game. And do you know anything about this, Bam Bam? Are they scanning you in? I heard they were even watching your moves and then making the character move like you would.
I got to play a version of the game. Yeah, we have it pulled up here. I got to play a version of the game. Now, this has been a little over a year ago since I did play that game. So I just imagine it's gotten better since then. But even when I was playing it there, I mean, you can look, there's soda pop, and yeah, that's definitely soda. So it's super cool what these guys are able to do. Did I ever think I'd be in a video game growing up as a kid? No, I didn't. So yeah, I'm having to contain my excitement here because this is too cool, man, and this is dream come true. So
and this is another aspect of TEXtv and all the things that are going on right here. That's just so exciting and so innovative and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. This next year is going to be it's going to be really eye opening for us.
Yeah, I think we need to buckle down and get ready because things are happening fast. We're rocking and rolling.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, very good. Well, awesome. Well, I guess we'll wait for those dates to pop up and we'll head on out there.
Yeah, don't forget the dates. September 26th, right here. TEXtv open house really is what that is.
Yeah.
Bands, food, celebrities. It's going to be a big day.
Yep.
And then October 12th.
October 12th. Tickets will be available on TexasStyleWrestling.com here pretty soon, so be on the lookout for those.
Yep.
But yeah, come hang out with us September 26th. We'll show you around the studios and then come back a few weeks later and catch some wrestling.
Yeah. We want to be a part of the community and we welcome you all to come out. And appreciate all of you listening today and watching us today. And Bam, enjoyed it, my friend. We're having a good time, aren't we?
Absolutely, man. Can't wait till next week.
Yakking about everything.
Let's do it.
Yeah, thank you, Logan. See y'all next time.
All right.